Wire transfers. From the home page, select the Cache Management dropdown and go to ACH and Wires. From here, you have a couple options. You could work with an existing template, such as the Bandera Office for Domestic Wire template, or you could create a new template and align that to a domestic or international wire. Or perhaps you're trying to initiate a one-time wire. You could select that option through the new payment dropdown. Let's look at a few of these examples in action. From the new payment dropdown, select domestic wires. Here is where I select my beneficiary. I'm going to select LaCanterra Industries. And I'm also going to choose which account they're going to be paid. Next, I'm going to key in the amount of the wire. I can also select or unselect the notification option, which simply gives them a very simple email once the bank has processed this wire. I can also include a message to the beneficiary. By selecting Next, I have the ability to align a subsidiary on our account to this transaction. Subsidiaries being unique tax IDs within our enterprise. I've selected Pearl Industries, and from here I can either select the Next button or the Account button. This is where I'm going to choose my offset account, or where the funds will be drawn from to fund that particular transaction. Since I only have one account entitled for wires, that is the only account that will appear. The final stage of this transaction within this process workflow is the review and submit. After I've looked at the amount I'm sending to one recipient, sending it to Pearl Industries from this account, I now have to select the process date. Keep in mind that if I've missed the bank cutoff for today, that particular date will not be available, and I'd have to select the next possible business day. I also have the ability to forward date this transaction. After I've completed all the required fields, I now can either put this transaction into a drafted stage or approved stage. I'm going to select draft. And the system gives us a few options from here. The first is to close out the screen. The second is to go to the Online Activity Center, where we can see additional details. Or if I didn't have approved rights, which would have also meant in the prior screen, the approve button wouldn't have been visible. Perhaps I only have draft rights within the company, and I want to notify other people that have approval rights. I could select that here, and the system will push out a notification to them that a wire is awaiting their approval. I'm going to select Go to the Online Activity Center, and we now see that transaction listed here. As I scroll down, we also see some additional levels of detail, indicating that I have drafted this, but we're now pending approvals. Once our enterprise has approved this transaction, now Jefferson Bank will authorize it and process it. At any time, if we want to come back in and see exactly where this wire is in the process, we can simply come to the Activity Center, which is located in our main navigation tab. But perhaps I created this in error. I now want to cancel this. Rather than calling the bank or my relationship manager, I can go to the Actions dropdown and cancel this transaction. I also have the ability to approve, assuming those rights have been granted to me as a user. If I wanted to inquire, that gives me the ability to communicate with Jefferson Bank about this transaction. I could also copy or duplicate this wire. And then lastly, if I wanted a very crisp print option, I could select Print Details. From here, I'm going to select Cancel. The system asks me to confirm. And we're now moving this transaction out of the drafted stage into the canceled stage, with confirmation again listed here in the Online Activity Center. Let's go back and look at the edit function with an existing template. I can go to my Bandera Office template and select the edit or enable. And from here, this is where I can potentially rename the template. If I wanted to change any users within my company who have access to this, I could select or deselect them here. And by selecting next, this now shows me that this particular template has been created for Perla Industries. But if for any reason we had information saying this checking account is no longer valid, we could go to the pencil icon without leaving our workflow, go up to Perla Industries checking information, and update the last 3 digits of their account. Perhaps they've also notified us that they want those funds to be placed into their savings. After all changes have been made, I can scroll down, click Save Recipient, confirm my action, and the system brings me back into my workflow. From here, I can do what we did a moment ago with the new payment, and that is keying in the amount, the message to beneficiary, which is not a required field, and simply go through this process as we just did. If for any reason I just wanted to leave this in a drafted status and not actually put it into any type of approval, I can click Save, Close. And when working with templates, we first have to save those. So now I can go back into the ACH and Wire, and we see that this particular template has been modified. We've taken some users' ability away from them. We've renamed it. And once I key in a process date, some increased functionality now appears. I can either just save it, put it into the drafted stage as mentioned, or approve. This is some of the basic functionality associated with wire transfers in online banking.